Hi, I'm Nadia Whiteside, Program Director at Career Transition Center of Chicago, and I'm pleased to introduce you to the second in our Building Skills series, Presenting Your Best Self in Writing. Our facilitator for the next 10 to 15 minutes will be CTC Coach and Trainer Jim Boysen. With 30 years spent working in corporate human resources and nearly 7 years as a CTC volunteer, Jim is prepared to help you with almost any problem arising in your job search. Between the information he's gleaned from CTC programs and the advice he's received from other coaches, Jim has a well-rounded understanding of all the details of the career development process. Jim has worked in the manufacturing sector and consulted with hospitals, but he says this background is less important to a coach than a firm understanding of CTC's approach. So without further ado, it's my pleasure to turn the microphone over to Jim Boysen and Presenting Your Best Self in Writing.
Thank you, Nadia. In this workshop, we'll explore these written methods for communicating your application for a job. Your resume, the CARs, value statements, summaries, handbills, bios, applicant tracking system, and cover letters. Your resume is the reason that you will get an interview. This is what companies will review and see how well you fit their job description. So it's pretty important to identify in your resume how well you match up to the job description for this position and how that sets you apart from all the other candidates that are applying for the job. Your own uniqueness has to stand out on the resume. Your resume can serve as a script for yourself. It can also serve as a script for the interviewer in asking you questions about it, and it creates questions that the interviewer will wish to pursue. Those successes, those CARs, will be the highlight that you will evidence your capabilities that are appropriately fitting the job that you're applying for. The most important thing that we found here at CTC is that you've got to know yourself before you start interviewing. So it's important to use the tools of other coaches here, as well as Strength Finders and Strong and other tools that gives an objective viewpoint of who you are so that you can go confidently into the interview. Don't be unclear about which direction you're going or what position you want. When you're interviewing, you have to be very focused. When you write up the resume, you want to use appropriate words. Use action verbs. We listed several of action verbs here that identify what you're capable of doing. The most important one, obviously, is achieved. That's used in 52% of all the resumes, and that's what companies will be looking for. What have you achieved? What is your resume really saying? And that is done almost through a special application where it's called TagCrowd. And that application will view your resume and identify through size and format all the words you're using. So this will tell you if you are addressing those issues, those buzzwords, and those needs that you have in looking for a position. One of the most important elements of the job interview and of the resume is the CARs. These are the things that you're most proud of. These are the things that people have identified you as being exceptional. CAR stands for the challenge that you faced, the action you took, and the positive result that came about. Every bullet in your resume should demonstrate at least one of the following: specific contribution to an event or project, a measurable outcome, and using industry keywords or buzzwords to show that you are within the ballpark. CARs on resumes have a lot to do with the interviewing. These are the stories that you're going to tell that indicate that you are a good applicant. They are stories, and stories are more memorable than just pure data. You tell these stories, in your interview, you live these stories to make them look authentic, and you will see that when you start telling stories that come out, that you even lose yourself in the interview and just relive those moments, but these moments are the positive moments that interviewers are interested in. You're convincing the resume, or you're convincing the interviewer that you are the best person for this position. Again, use the appropriate action verbs. Expressing your accomplishments. And these could be accomplishments outside of jobs, but you should use examples of also in jobs. That shows your leadership ability, your own initiative, what you contribute to the organization or the events or the projects that are highlighted, a measurable outcome, again using industry keywords, and also demonstrating the progression that you had through your previous employment. Cars can show up anywhere. They can show up on your LinkedIn profile. They can show up in the resume. They can show up in your bios and your handbills, or just informational meetings that you attend. So when we make a statement on your cars or in your resume, you have to be somewhat expansive and in detail. One possible response might be, led a client team to develop location for a new plant. This does not say much. You'll have to give details that make it memorable. So in this particular situation, led a 10-person team to establish a $300 million plant location for a leading North American forestry firm. Negotiated real estate contracts, achieving 3% savings in acquisition costs despite sellers' market conditions. If I read this on a resume, I'd say this is a person who has accomplished something that can handle a wide variety of responsibilities. Similarly, if you put down increased market share 20% in 2012, you need to put more detail to it to identify how you're unique and how you're creative in your employment situations in the past. One of the important things to realize is your summary statement. Your summary statement is the first thing that an interviewer reads on your resume. If you don't sell them there, you ain't going to sell them at all. So make sure that your summary of qualifications not only tells the story of how effective you are, but also reflects what the job description is requiring. Similarly, you have a value statement that expands on, in a very brief fashion, how effective or how appropriate you are in past positions. You also identify in your resume, besides work history, and that done chronologically, is your education and any achievements or honors that you accomplished, or volunteer work that you put through that reflect what the job description requires. Let's go back and just define. A value statement is a succinct, captivating statement declaring what you do, how you do it, and whom you do it for. Now, your summary statement at the top of the resume is almost similar to that, and this is a written version of your value statements. But again, you have to make it unique, applicable to the job that you're looking for, and exciting enough that people are going to follow up and want to talk to you. There is no problem in you writing up a variety of resumes to fit the job description. You can identify certain summary skills in your resume that fit one job. It may not necessarily be as demonstrated on another resume. The last thing is biography or handbill, and I think it's important to understand that this is like a preview of coming attractions, like a movie. You view the handbill and says, oh, this is somebody that I really want to talk to, because the handbill does not include work history or education or a lot of things that might be perceived negative. All it highlights is your top skills and your abilities. And so the person's going to want to see your resume and yourself after they've read the handbill. The applicant tracking system is a robotic method for companies use to identify appropriate candidates. It will scan the words in your resume, and if there is the words usage that is appropriate to the job description, they will single this out and the interviewer will get your resume. If you don't do a good job of this, your resume will end up in the circular file. 72% of all resumes sent in are never seen by human eyes. So you have this applicant tracking system doing a lot of screening right now, so you want to utilize it to draw interest by the employer. Use language from the job description when you're developing your responses. Create a customized professional summary. Make yourself unique and standing alone. Place contact information at the top, though I do strongly recommend that women do not put their home address on the top of their resume. And tailor each resume to what the job you're looking for. They will, in the applicant tracking system, they will check the word frequency that you use and the nouns and the verbs you use that are appropriate for the position that they're advertising for. Use Microsoft Word or follow the guidelines created by Plain Text Resumes. Use common titles for resume sections. Keep it standardized. Here is not the area to be creative, but because you're dealing with an applicant tracking system, a non-human. Cover letters are always going with a resume, but have limited use. In most cases, a company or an interviewer will read the cover letter after they have read the resume. If in the cover letter it identifies your referral that you received or that you have unique qualifications for the specific job, all the good. But don't be too expansive on the cover letter. Anybody that's interviewing for jobs, if they see a 14-paragraph cover letter, they're not going to read it. On the other hand, your usage of the English language is extremely important. No typos, no errors, no ungrammatical usage should be shown in these cover letters or in your resume. Recognize in your cover letter who the audience is. Identify any referrals that you received to this company, and finish up with a follow-up that says that you will be in contact with them. Don't leave the burden on them. Put the burden on you that you will call them next Tuesday so they know that they're going to be ready for a response. In addition, there's more information on how to prepare for any of your written communications. Refining Your Pitch Materials by Erica Sandvig is provided here at CTC, as well as Cards for Conversation by Lauren Bittner and Maureen Barney.
Great, Jim. So this Building Skills 2 webinar is also available in a workbook format to supplement what Jim talked about today. So you can request a copy from our office. And Jim, maybe you can talk about maybe next steps. So once we've kind of been through this planning phase and developed our portfolio documents, what else can clients take advantage of at CTC?
One of the most important things a client can do is network. We give guidance on how to network, not only with friends and relatives you know, but people who are identified as might be connected with a company that you're interested in. Networking allows you to do several things. It allows you to find out what's out there as far as jobs that you may not have been aware of before. It also gives you feedback from the people you're networking with on how appropriate you are for the position and reaffirming your direction that you're going. Networking also is helpful in preparing yourself for answering any of the questions that may come up in the interview. I recommend strongly networking broadly and often. It doesn't necessarily matter that you talk to very specific individuals, but just anybody, because you don't know who they're raking leaves with.
Very good. Yes, and our Building Skills 3 is actually on networking. So that's the next sequence in our Building Skills series. And also, Jim, talk a little bit about the interview process, because that's something you're very close to at CTC.
I've been doing mock interviews here. I do 2 of them every other week. And what I'm very pleased with and sometimes disappointed with is how clients put to use their guidance and their information that they receive here at CTC. It's good practice because what you see in the mock interview can be changed, can be modified to improve yourself. Most often, clients come in on the mock interview and they are not prepared to discuss in candid, brief terms what the cars are. And I strongly recommend that cars are expressed initially very briefly. If after you've given a cars, you've told them what you've accomplished, and they ask further questions on that, then you know what they're interested in. If they blow apart or blow away your car, not interested in following up, then you know that that is not a very interesting element in your background to them. But cars are stories, cars are memorable, and cars identify what your accomplishments are.
Great advice. Well, that concludes our webinar on presenting your best self in writing, the second in our Building Skills series. On behalf of Jim Boysen and myself, we'd like to thank you for attending this webinar, and be sure to check out more titles on CTC's YouTube page, as well as client videos on our website at ctcchicago.org. Thank you.